Tonight on Nation and Nation, Ground Zero at Standing Rock.
So people who come in masses, they're here to do one thing. They say it's to protect the water, but they're trying to create a war.
The Battle of Backwater Bridge. The struggle over the Dakota Access Pipeline continues. This is Nation Nation. I'm Jorge Barrera. Those images that you just saw occurred behind me here on Backwater Bridge. The situation remains tense at the camp just down this highway, 1806. We're going to begin the show with an interview with Kayla Sutherland from Attawapiskat. She was a medic here on Sunday night and into the early morning hours of Monday. Joining me now is Kayla Sutherland. Kayla, thanks for chatting with us about what's been going on here. Now, you know, a few days ago, Sunday night, things just down this highway blew up. You know, the authorities unleashed a barrage of tear gas and water against the water protectors. Tell me, what was your role that night? What were you doing?
So for me, I was doing a lot of background work as well as being in the front line. There was a lot of need when it came to hypothermic reaction time, because we had a huge overflow here at Maine Medics because there was, you know, over 100 people getting hypothermia at a time because it was below sub-zero. So my job was to open up many hypothermic centers across camps, which included at Rosebud, Sacred Stone, and I also communicated with Standing Rock Emergency, and we opened up the community center, and I made agreement with them to keep that open all night long so that our water protectors could get hot showers and somewhere to sleep that night. And then I made my way to the front line to be able to relieve front medics that had been there since the beginning, and continued to do that work from about 11 till 3 in the morning, ensuring people were safe, getting people off the front line, taking people's eye wash, you know, taking care of people's rubber bullets, basically telling some people when they've been there for way too long that this is the point where I'm observing that you're going into extreme hypothermia and I need you to come over here. That was my main purpose.
You've been here for a while. How did what happened, you know, down this highway on Sunday night into early hours of Monday, how does that compare to the other police actions that happened, you know, the previous months and the weeks before that? How does it compare?
It was a lot more aggressive, and it seemed to be almost an attack, because at other times where we've had aggression towards us, it wasn't necessarily at particular areas of the body, although in the previous action on Sunday, it was very clear that they were going for joints and key areas where it would be long-term harm, like groin areas and chest. Whereas when we had other altercations like that, they did not aim for people in that way. So that's why we can see it as an attack, and unfortunately, whereas before it was self-defense or trying to divert us, they really can't claim that for the Sunday's action.
First of all, what brought you here in the first place to this camp, to this struggle here? What made you want to come?
To be honest with you, it was a friend of mine that had been here, and I met up with her in Ontario, Canada. And to put it into not too many words, she gave me a piece of the energy of this place. And I didn't want to let it die. And I knew I had to continue that for her because she couldn't come back because she had to go to school. So I said I'd come, and I did, and I only intended to stay for a little while, but I couldn't leave.
How long has it been?
About almost 3 months. Got here in the beginning of September. It'll be in December in a week, so.
And how long do you think you'll be here?
Till it's over.
And when could it end? And will it end?
Well, it really depends on how hard they're going to be pushing construction. They claim that they don't have the permit until January to do horizontal drilling, although in almost every case where they do not have the permits, they go ahead and do the work anyway and pay the fine. So it could be 2 weeks, it could be a month, it could be 2 months. It really depends.
Well, thank you for telling us about this. I guess we'll try to stay in touch and see where things go.
Thank you very much.
After we recorded our intro, a man came on the highway saying that they had word that a raid was imminent, and then calls went out for warriors to come to Backwater Bridge. While this was happening, 2 men on horseback came up on the highway saying, go back to the camp, that the elders wanted to de-escalate the situation on the bridge. While this was all unfolding, to my left on a hill called Turtle Island, authorities there through a loudspeaker were also telling people to head back to the camp. We heard pops, there was reports of rubber bullets firing, and over the loudspeaker the authorities assured people that they had no intention to raid the camp. Now, we have an interview coming after the break with Standing Rock Sioux Tribe Chairman David Archambault, who talks about the impact this is all having on his community and some of the emotions he believes are driving the ongoing demonstrations.
So when this war is done, the relationships have to be re-established, rebuilt, and who has to do that? The people who live here.
This is NationToNation. I'm Jorge Barrera. Coming up now, we're bringing you our interview with Standing Rock Sioux Nation Tribal Chairman David Archambault, who talks about the impact this camp is having on his community, which will be left to pick up the pieces, amend all the relationships when this all ends.
Thank you, Chairman Archambault, for meeting with us. Part of the issue here is that they're restricting your community's ability to use that highway. And you know, they're using excuses as to why they keep it shut. What's your understanding of why it continues to be shut, and what efforts are you willing to make to allow, like, the Department of Transport, what have you, to inspect what's happening right now?
So the Department of Transportation says the bridge was compromised because of a fire that was set on it. So the protesters or water protectors set fire to items on the bridge. That causes the asphalt to melt, and it's a concrete bridge, so they have to bore test to make sure the concrete wasn't compromised. The Department of Transportation doesn't want anyone on the bridge if it could be faulty because of the fire damage. So this is their take on it. The Department of Transportation doesn't want to come in and do bore testing while there's water protectors or protesters in that area. So law enforcement can move just to the other side of the bridge so that the Department of Transportation bridge inspector can go and analyze if there was any damage. And I don't think there was any damage. I would say the asphalt melted, but I don't think the heat was hot enough to compromise the concrete. So what it is it's a roadblock to keep people from going up the road further to the actual construction site. It is a public highway, and it is the main route for the people who live on Standing Rock, our membership, and it's the route that gets us to Bismarck, community of Bismarck, where majority of our commerce takes place. So not only that, but if there was an emergency or an accident, now we're forced to go an alternative route that takes about 20 minutes further. So all of this is causing hardship on the community, causing stress on everybody, because we know when everything is all said and done, regardless of what happens with the pipeline, we're still going to be here. So if you just take a look at the things that are happening at the camp, look down and see the different structures going up and the waste. When this is all over, who's going to have to clean that up? The people who live here will have to clean that up. The bridge, we can't get hot mix in now because hot mix to resurface the asphalt is out of season. So that when it's all said and done, everybody's gonna be gone, but that bridge is still gonna be compromised, and we're gonna have to, before we can use that road, access that road again, it's gonna take some time, or we're gonna have to come up with some alternative ways so that we can make that crossing, whether it's with gravel or whatever. So there's also the not only is it the waste and the refurbishing or putting that land back in its original state that we're going to have to clean up. We're also going to have to rebuild relationships that are broke. So people who come in masses, they're here to do one thing. They say it's to protect the water, but they're trying to create a war. And when you create a war, you damage relationships. So when this war is done, the relationships have to be re-established, rebuilt. And who has to do that? The people who live here. We're going to be stuck with cleaning up the mess, and we're going to be stuck with rebuilding relationships. And it may take decades before everything is back to normal. It may take another 100 years. We don't know. But I do know that when we first started this, we said we need to be mindful of who we are, and we need to listen to our elders, we need to listen to our youth, and we need to listen to the spirits. And all three of them said you need to be respectful, not to use violence. Once there's violence used, natural law is going to take over, and that pipeline is going to go through, and there's going to be damages. The repercussion is going to be there. So who has to deal with that? So from the beginning we said, be prayerful, be peaceful. But now you have thousands of people coming with their own agendas, their own concerns, and they say they're protecting water. It's not about water anymore. It's about revenge, and it shouldn't be. You know, we have so much good, and it's disheartening to know that a lot of things that we tried to build are being destroyed.
I want to continue down this theme about the impact this is having on your community, and whether your community is being forgotten by the people.
I would say that we're just getting ignored, because we welcome everybody, and we're thankful everybody came, but we live here, and our message has been be prayerful and be peaceful. We don't need to strategize for a war. But people say, I feel like my hands are tied, and they stand in a prayerful stance, like their hands are being tied right here to pray. If we did this in a positive way, it would get way more attention than the negative way. So if your hands feel like they're being tied, then maybe you shouldn't be here.
Are you going to try to do anything about this? Is there something gonna come at the camp?
Well, I tried to, early on, I tried to get people to understand where we're at, and the problem is that they think that I'm trying to colonize, they think that I'm trying to be a dictator, they think that I'm trying to control, and this camp has taken a life of its own. We have 6,000 members that live on Standing Rock, tribal members that live on Standing Rock, 2.3 million acres. There's 6,000 people at the camp, and they're not under any government. They're on their own. So when I try to say this is where we are, this is how we are, we're thankful you came to stand with us. They'll say, if I try to say, we really need to respect what we're doing, be mindful of what we're doing. We're not going to get colonized by another government. So I'm viewed as just another government, which is okay, And so I pull back and say, just know that you're going to be leaving something behind when you go, and know who's going to clean it up. It's the people here.
After the break, we'll bring you more with Chairman David Archambault as he discusses his tribe's dealing with the Army Corps of Engineers on the Dakota Access Pipeline. He'll also discuss a treaty argument being developed in hopes of using it to stop this pipeline. This is NationToNation. I'm Jorge Barrera. Now we'll bring you the last segment of our interview with Standing Rock Sioux Nation Tribal Chairman David Archambault, where he discusses his tribe's dealings with the Army Corps of Engineers and the evolution of a treaty argument against the Dakota Access Pipeline.
My understanding is that the next step in this is that the Army Corps wants to meet with you and Cheyenne River to discuss two issues. If we do grant this easement, what conditions should we attach to it? And secondly, what are the reasons why we shouldn't grant this easement? Those are my understanding, those are the two main issues they want to discuss with you. Where is that at right now?
When we first heard about it, September 2014, we had the Energy Transfer Partners Dakota Access Pipeline people come with the Public Service Commission, and they came here to this chambers. And at that time, we told them we didn't want this pipeline here to take it away from us. And we identified our treaties, the treaty land that it's crossing. We let them know that we're concerned of our safe drinking water. We let them know we're scared. We're concerned of the environmental impacts that this will cause. And when something goes wrong, it's going to be us. We'll be the first to be impacted by this. So from the beginning, we've been silent. So it wasn't until the Corps of Engineers issued a environmental assessment with FONSI, a finding of no significant impact, that we filed suit. And so we filed the suit, and we informed the courts that we weren't consulted on this matter, and we needed to be consulted. And we had other federal agencies, Department of Interior, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation write letters to the Corps saying you need to consult with Standing Rock Sioux Tribe. The Corps ignored everything and said this is a EA. So in our correspondences, the judge ruled that we had more than enough time to be consulted, and we didn't do it. So there's a consultation issue. Consultation, government to government, and then Advisory Council of Historic Preservation, National Historic Preservation Act, Section 106, says you consult on sacred sites. That consultation and this consultation are confused, so the Corps tries to blend them together, and when you blend them together, both of them get lost. So we didn't. That's how we feel. We don't feel like we were adequately consulted with a meaningful consultation session. So the judge ruled that while you talk to the Corps of Engineers, every time we talk to the Corps, every time we talk to the Public Service Commission, every time we talk to the Dakota Access Pipeline, we said we didn't want this pipeline here. But because it wasn't in the formal process for the record, no matter if we talked to them 389 times or not, because it wasn't in the formal process, formal check the box process, they said the judge will say that we did consult. So we appealed it. The Corps of Engineers, or the Department of Army, Interior, and Justice released a statement saying, you guys, we're going to hold off on issuing an easement. There's not going to be any boring underneath the Missouri River until we have further discussion on consultation and until we review the process of what the Corps of Engineers did. They reviewed the process, and the Corps said it's good. The Department of Army said they followed all the laws that are in place. So the problem is the laws that are in place are flawed, and to change laws, pipeline laws, it may take some work, and it's something that we can work on in the future. But today, with this pipeline, the Department of Army said the Corps of Engineers followed the law to the T, and everything is good. But we're not going to issue an easement until we have further discussion with the tribe, because of the tribal lands that are of concern, and because if there's something that the tribe can demonstrate why it's a high risk for us, then we'll take that into consideration. So that's where we're at today. We're just waiting to have this discussion, and we're trying to put together some information to the Corps. It goes back to treaty lands. It is within our treaty lands, so that will take a whole nother act or a whole nother lawsuit from what we're doing. We're just making sure that the Environmental Protection Laws, Clean Water Act laws, National Historic Preservation laws are all being followed. So that's our argument, is that we don't feel that they are safe and they're being followed.
So you expect another meeting with the Corps before this is done?
I'm hoping so.
But it's not guaranteed.
There's no meeting date set, so.
But you also said you're going to be bringing up a treaty argument.
No, that's the tribes will have to bring up the treaty argument. And if our tribe tried to bring up the treaty argument, one, our ancestors were not signers of the treaty, 1851 treaty, but we're clumped in there because we're part of the Great Sioux Nation. Our Sitting Bull stood back and he said, these treaties are not fair and they're not right, and I'm not going to sign. So what they did was they just got leaders from different Tioshpais, or different families, different Oyates, different nations, and they said, these are our treaty signers. So if we were to bring in a treaty argument, I need all the Great Sioux Nation people to be on the same page and saying, this is what we're going to do. Because whatever happens, if our treaties are not honored, and if I brought this argument forward, it impacts all the other Great Sioux Nation tribes. So it's not just up to me. So if that argument has to take place, it can't be just by Standing Rock. It has to be by all Great Sioux Nation tribes to take it forward.
And where is that at? Is that in
Well, they've been having treaty meetings, so it's really difficult to get all the treaty members, treaty signers, are descendants of treaty signers, and there's different factions of the treaty delegations from different tribes, so they have to figure that out and take the next step.
Do you feel, is this nearing the end game? Is Standing Rock at the mercy of whether the Army Corps decides to agree to the easement or not? Will it be over if they say yes? Is that done, or what more can be done?
Well, I think any time that pipe's not underneath the river, then we still have a chance. And I always felt that with prayer, anything can happen. And so we continue to pray that this doesn't happen. The pipeline doesn't go underneath the river and threaten our water, threaten our future generations. So I always just look at it as it's not there yet. Until it's there, then I'll say that's what the possibilities are. But
are there still options if they greenlight it? Is this still something you can do?
You still pray.
That's all the time we have tonight, but we'll leave you with some drone footage from digital smoke signals of the ongoing construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline by Lake Oahe. This is what it's all about, stopping that pipeline from drilling underneath the water. Good night, and we'll see you next week.